The sky over New York darkened at precisely 8:43 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on a Tuesday that would forever change human history. It wasn't clouds or an eclipse. It was the shadow of a vessel so massive it blocked the sun for 20 square miles beneath it. Within minutes, identical ships materialized over London, Beijing, Moscow, New Delhi, and 23 other major population centers across the globe. Commander Vex of the Hegemony's 7th Conquering Fleet allowed himself a moment of satisfaction as he observed the primitive planet through the command deck's viewscreen. After centuries of interstellar conquest, the Hegemony had developed an efficient system, arrive unexpectedly with overwhelming force, demonstrate technological superiority, demand surrender, and systematically subjugate the population. The strategy had worked flawlessly across 17 solar systems and 43 inhabited worlds. Begin standard intimidation protocol, Vex ordered, his 6 digits tapping impatiently against the command console. Deploy atmospheric fighters and initiate global communications override. The ship's executive officer, Lieutenant Draz, bowed respectfully. Conquest estimated completion time: 14 planetary rotations, Commander. Vex scoffed. Make it 8. These creatures don't even have unified planetary governance. Primitive. Vulnerable. On Earth, panic erupted as television broadcasts, radio signals, internet connections, and communication devices simultaneously displayed the same message in all local languages. ATTNTYON humans of Earth. We are hegemony. Your planet is now under our control. Resistance is futile, and will result in planetary sterilization. Await if you are your instructions. At the Pentagon, General Eleanor Wilson maintained remarkable composure as she addressed the hastily assembled Joint Chiefs and the President via secure video link. Mr. President, it appears we're dealing with a Type IO civilization at minimum. Their ships are utilizing some form of gravitational manipulation for propulsion and hovering. Energy readings are off the charts. The President's face remained stone cold. Options, General. Wilson's lips curled into the faintest smile. Sir, we've been preparing for this scenario since 1947. Operation Thundershield is ready for immediate activation. Across the globe, in hardened bunkers buried deep beneath mountains and oceans, military personnel receive the Alpha Omega authorization codes. Inside seemingly ordinary military installations worldwide, hidden panels slid open to reveal technology that officially didn't exist. In low Earth orbit, dormant satellites that appeared on no official registry suddenly activated, their true purpose finally revealed after decades of secrecy. Commander Vex was reviewing the initial scans of Earth's military capabilities when Lieutenant Draz approached with an update. Sir, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from multiple locations on the planet's surface. Vex dismissed the concern with a wave. Expected primitive defensive responses. Continue with the intimidation protocol. Deploy the first wave of enforcers to their governmental centers. As the first Hegemony shuttles descended toward Earth's surface, General Wilson sat in the command center beneath the Pentagon, finger hovering over a biometric scanner. Thundershield is hot. All defensive grids online, reported her aide. Wilson pressed her palm against the scanner. The stakes have never been higher. Let's show these visitors why you don't mess with Earth. The clock read 10:41 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The invasion had begun 118 minutes ago. The Hegemony was about to learn that humanity's apparent technological inferiority was the greatest deception in galactic history. The first indication that Commander Vex had severely miscalculated came when 3 enforcement shuttles approaching Washington, D.C. simply vanished from sensors. Not destroyed. There was no debris, no explosion. They simply ceased to exist. Before he could process this anomaly, similar reports flooded in from Beijing, Moscow, and other targeted landing zones. Impossible, Vex muttered, mandibles clicking nervously. Scan for quantum displacement technology. The results made his exoskeleton pale. "Commander," the science officer reported, voice quavering, "the humans are employing directed spatial folding. They're creating localized pocket dimensions and trapping our ships inside them." This technology was beyond even the hegemony's capabilities. Space folding required mathematical understanding that should be millennia beyond a pre-FTL civilization. On Earth, in a facility deep beneath the Antarctic ice, Dr. Marcus Rivera monitored the quantum entrapment fields with satisfaction. "Dimensional pocket stable," he reported to the Global Defense Network. "Enforcement shuttles successfully contained." General Wilson's voice crackled through the comm system. "Good work, Antarctica. Activate Phase 2. The most shocking revelation for the invaders came exactly 127 minutes into their attempted conquest. The supposedly primitive human communication networks suddenly broke free of the hegemony's override. Instead of panicked broadcasts, a single coordinated message appeared on every screen across Earth, and more disturbingly, on every display terminal within the hegemony fleet. A composed human woman in a military uniform addressed the invaders directly. "This is General Eleanor Wilson of Earth's Unified Defense Command. You have violated sovereign space and declared hostile intent against our planet. You were not invited here. You are not welcome here. You have exactly 5 minutes to power down your vessels and surrender, or face the consequences." Commander Vex roared with laughter. Their arrogance is astounding. They think they can threaten the hegemony. He turned to his communications officer. "Send response. Your destruction is now inevitable. Your technological tricks merely delay the inevitable." What Vex didn't understand was that humanity had detected the hegemony scout probes decades ago. Earth had been preparing. The perpetually squabbling nations had secretly united under a single defensive purpose when faced with the prospect of extraterrestrial threats. The 5-minute deadline passed. Commander Vex stood triumphant on his bridge, ready to order planetary bombardment to crush the humans' unexpected resistance. That's when the true nature of Operation Thundershield was revealed. Hidden quantum entanglement devices, planted on each hegemony vessel by microscopic infiltration drones during the initial confusion, activated simultaneously. The massive invasion ships found themselves suddenly unable to access their weapon systems or engines. "Sir," Lieutenant Draz cried in alarm, "something is inside our network. It's rewriting our operational protocols." As Vex watched in horror, the ship's screens filled with scrolling human code, mathematical proofs so advanced they seemed almost artistic in their complexity. The technological gap that Vex had assumed favored the hegemony was revealed to be exactly the opposite. Humanity had maintained a carefully constructed facade of comparative primitivism, a planetary-scale deception designed specifically to lure overconfident aggressors into a trap. And the hegemony had taken the bait. Commander Vex's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme stress in his species, as he watched his mighty invasion fleet rendered impotent in a matter of minutes. The humans had somehow hijacked the hegemony's bioneural ship networks, using an adaptive viral code that propagated through quantum entanglement nodes. It was technology the hegemony's best scientists had theorized might be possible in another century of development. Yet these supposedly pre-FTL humans had not only created it, but weaponized it with devastating efficiency. "Sir," Lieutenant Draz reported, voice trembling, "we're detecting energy buildup in Earth's upper atmosphere. They appear to be activating some form of planetary shield." On Earth, in facilities scattered strategically across the globe, teams of engineers monitored the activation of the Aegis network, humanity's ultimate defensive technology. Thousands of seemingly ordinary satellites shifted position, revealing their true nature as nodes in an energy lattice that had remained dormant until this moment. Dr. Elisa Nakamura, director of the Aegis project, watched as the system came online after decades of secret development. Initiating planetary shield in 3, 2, 1. A shimmering, barely perceptible field expanded outward from each satellite, the energy matrices connecting and strengthening until they encapsulated the entire planet in a defensive barrier that no known weapon could penetrate. In the White House Situation Room, the president received confirmation that the shield was operational, and our people still in major cities. Evacuation to subsurface shelters is at 97% completion, his chief of staff confirmed. We've been quietly preparing civilians for this possibility through emergency drills for years. Meanwhile, the Hegemony fleet hung paralyzed in Earth's orbit, their systems compromised, their weapons offline. Commander Vex frantically ordered manual overrides, but the humans had anticipated this. Each attempt to regain control only triggered more sophisticated lockouts. How? Vex demanded, slamming his limb against the command console. How could they have prepared for us so thoroughly? The answer appeared on his view screen as General Wilson's face materialized once again. Commander Vex. She addressed him by name. Further evidence of how deeply they'd penetrated hegemony systems. Perhaps you're wondering how a primitive species like ours could defeat your invasion so quickly. You've had help, Vex snarled. Another spacefaring race has given you technology. Wilson smiled. No, Commander. We developed everything ourselves. You see, humanity detected your scout probes in our solar system in 1947. We've been expecting you, or someone like you, for over 70 years. While we publicly bickered and maintained the appearance of disunity and technological limitation, we were preparing. We didn't develop flashy interstellar ships that would reveal our true capabilities. Instead, we focused entirely on defensive technologies and counter-invasion measures. Vex's compound eyes widened as the implications sank in. The hegemony had catastrophically underestimated these humans. They had monitored Earth for decades, but had seen only what humans wanted them to see. Your conquest of other worlds made you predictable, Wilson continued. We studied your tactics through long-range observation. Every move you made today was anticipated and countered before you even arrived. As if to demonstrate this point, several smaller hegemony vessels that had attempted to break formation suddenly found themselves encased in localized stasis fields, another technology that should have been impossible for humans to possess. The message was clear. Earth wasn't just defended, it was untouchable. Your conquest has failed, Commander, Wilson said with calm finality. You have 1 hour to surrender, or we will be forced to demonstrate our offensive capabilities as well. The ultimatum sent tremors of fear through the hegemony fleet. Commander Vex, however, remained defiant despite the increasingly desperate situation. The humans had neutralized their ships, erected an impenetrable planetary shield, and demonstrated technological sophistication that rivaled or exceeded the hegemony's own capabilities. Still, he clung to the belief that surrender was unthinkable. Prepare the quantum singularity device, Vex ordered, referencing the hegemony's weapon of last resort. If we cannot have this world, no one will. Lieutenant Draz hesitated. Sir, our weapons systems are still locked out. The QSD has a manual activation protocol specifically designed to function independently of ship systems. Vex snapped. Begin the activation sequence. What Vex didn't realize was that human quantum surveillance had already detected the energy signature of the Doomsday device. In a monitoring station beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Hiroshi Takeda observed the readings with practiced calm. General Wilson, he reported, they're attempting to activate a contained singularity weapon. Gravitational distortion patterns suggest it could potentially consume our entire solar system if detonated. Wilson nodded grimly. Implement Prometheus Protocol. Across Earth's surface, 7 massive installations that had been disguised as research facilities for decades simultaneously activated. They projected focused beams of exotic particles that converged in space, targeting the hegemony's flagship with pinpoint accuracy. The result was not an explosion or conventional attack. Instead, the combined beams created a temporal isolation field, essentially removing the flagship from normal spacetime flow. From the perspective of those aboard, including Commander Vex, time simply stopped. Quantum stasis field stable, reported Dr. Takeda. The flagship and its singularity weapon are contained in a localized time freeze. They can't hurt anyone now. With the flagship neutralized, humanity turned its attention to the remaining hegemony vessels. Rather than destroy them, Earth demonstrated its technological superiority through mercy. From a facility in the Mariana Trench, engineers activated the Sol System Defense Grid, a network of massive gravitational lenses positioned throughout the solar system, hidden within asteroids and camouflaged against detection. These devices bent space-time itself, creating corridors of accelerated space that could catapult objects across vast distances. The remaining hegemony ships suddenly found themselves caught in these space-time currents, helplessly pulled toward these corridors. Within minutes, the entire invasion fleet was propelled beyond the orbit of Neptune, effectively ejected from Earth's vicinity without a single alien casualty. Only a single small diplomatic vessel was spared this treatment, instead being gently captured by Earth's gravitational manipulation technology and brought to a secure landing facility in the Sahara Desert. As the shell-shocked hegemony dignitaries were escorted from their craft, they found themselves facing not just military personnel, but a diverse assembly of Earth's leaders, scientists, politicians, philosophers, and cultural representatives from nations across the globe. Dr. Eleanor Chen, Earth's designated diplomatic representative, stepped forward with a universal translator device. "Welcome to Earth. Your invasion has been neutralized. Your fleet has been transported approximately 4.5 billion kilometers away, near the outer boundary of our solar system. They are unharmed but will require approximately 2 years at their maximum speed to return to hegemony space." The lead diplomat, still struggling to process the rapid defeat, managed to ask the question burning in every hegemony mind. How? How did you defeat us so completely in just 2 hours? Dr. Chen smiled. "Because we've been waiting for you for 75 years. This wasn't a fair fight. It was an ambush. Your overconfidence made you predictable." As the hegemony diplomats were escorted to a secure conference facility beneath the Sahara, the full scope of humanity's deception began to unfold. The compound they entered was no hastily prepared bunker, but a sprawling installation that had clearly existed for decades, designed specifically for first contact scenarios, including hostile ones. For over 70 years, Dr. Chen explained as they walked through holographic displays of Earth's secret technological development timeline, humanity has maintained what we call the Masquerade Protocol, a deliberate program to conceal our true technological capabilities from potential extraterrestrial observers. The displays showed how, after detecting the first hegemony probes in 1947, world leaders had secretly convened and made a momentous decision. Earth would present itself as technologically limited while accelerating development of defensive systems. The bitter conflicts of the Cold War had provided perfect cover for the massive resource allocation required, as did the apparent military spending of subsequent decades. Our public space programs, satellite launches, and even our international conflicts were carefully choreographed, continued Dr. Chen. We needed to appear divided and technologically primitive compared to our actual capabilities. The alien diplomats watched in stunned silence as the presentation revealed the true extent of human advancement. What the hegemony had perceived as crude rocket technology was merely the visible aspect of Earth's space program. Hidden beneath these conventional displays were quantum transportation systems, gravity manipulation technology, and dimensional engineering that outstripped anything in the hegemony's arsenal. "But why?" asked the lead diplomat, a senior hegemony official named Krex. "Why maintain such an elaborate deception? You could have joined the galactic community, traded technology. We intercepted enough hegemony communications to understand your galactic community operates on technological hierarchy and subjugation," interrupted General Wilson, who had joined the briefing. "We observed how you conquered 17 systems before ours. We saw the pattern and decided we'd prefer to control the terms of our introduction to the wider galaxy." The true nature of humanity's technological development became clearer as the briefing continued. Earth had focused almost exclusively on defensive and counter-invasion technology rather than conventional space exploration. While publicly launching chemical rockets to nearby planets, they had secretly perfected quantum entanglement communication, gravitational manipulation, dimensional pocket technology, and temporal stasis fields, all perfectly suited to repel invaders. Your invasion fleet commander still doesn't understand what happened, Dr. Chen noted. From his perspective, he deployed an overwhelming force against a primitive world and was inexplicably defeated within 2 hours. We want you to help us explain it to him. The diplomatic conference room's main screen activated, showing Commander Vex's flagship still suspended in temporal stasis. We're going to release your commander from stasis now, General Wilson explained. His ship remains neutralized, but will establish communication. We want him, and through him, your hegemony leadership, to understand exactly what they've encountered here. With a gesture from Dr. Chen, the stasis field partially deactivated. Commander Vex found himself suddenly able to think and communicate again, though his ship remained immobilized. His face appeared on the screen, mandibles clicking furiously in agitation. When he saw his own diplomats sitting with the humans, his compound eyes widened in shock. What is the meaning of this? Has the diplomatic corps surrendered to these primitives? The lead diplomat, Krex, stood to address his commander with newfound respect for their human hosts. Commander, there has been a significant miscalculation in our assessment of Earth. These humans have been aware of our presence since our first probes entered their system decades ago. They have been preparing for this encounter ever since. As Vex listened to the explanation of humanity's elaborate deception and technological superiority, the color drained from his exoskeleton. The implications extended far beyond this failed invasion. The entire hegemony strategy of conquest, based on technological superiority, was now in question. The conference facility's atmosphere grew tenser as Commander Vex processed the implications of humanity's technological capabilities. Through the quantum communication link, his mandibles clicked rhythmically, a sign of deep distress in his species. If what you claim is true, Vex finally said, then why reveal yourselves now? You could have maintained this deception indefinitely. Dr. Chen exchanged glances with General Wilson before responding. Because deception was never our end goal, Commander. It was merely a defensive strategy until we could engage from a position of strength. Today's events have established that position. The lead hegemony diplomat, Krex, leaned forward. The hegemony controls vast territories across 3 galactic arms. Even with your impressive technology, you must realize you're still outnumbered. General Wilson smiled. Are we? Commander Vex, would you like to know what we learned from studying your scout probes over the decades? A series of holographic star maps materialized in the center of the conference room, showing hegemony territory with specific systems highlighted. These 17 systems, Wilson continued, pointing to the highlighted regions, all share something in common. They were all conquered by the hegemony in the last century, and they all had the same reaction to initial contact that we did. They detected your scout probes early and began preparing. The implication hung in the air like a guillotine blade. You're suggesting? Vex began, his voice faltering. Dr. Chen nodded. Yes, Earth isn't the only world that chose the path of technological concealment. We've been in secret quantum communication with 12 other species across what you consider hegemony space for nearly 30 years. The revelation struck like a physical blow. The hegemony representatives realized they weren't just facing one technologically superior world. They were potentially facing an alliance of worlds that had all independently developed similar defensive strategies against hegemony expansion. The Concordat, Dr. Chen explained, is not a formal alliance yet, but we share information, technology, and a common goal: peaceful coexistence without hegemony domination. On the screen, Commander Vex had gone completely still. The High Council must be informed of this development. They will be, General Wilson assured him. But first, we wanted you to understand the full context of today's failed invasion. Another holographic display activated, showing the hegemony fleet now clustered near Neptune's orbit, stranded but intact. "We could have destroyed your fleet," Wilson noted. "Instead, we chose to demonstrate our technological superiority while preserving lives. That was a deliberate choice, one that should inform how the hegemony proceeds from here." Dr. Chen stood and approached the hegemony diplomats directly. "Which brings us to why we've invited you here. We're proposing terms not just for the withdrawal of your forces, but for a fundamental restructuring of our relationship with the hegemony." The terms were simultaneously generous and non-negotiable. Earth would not join the hegemony as a subject world, but would consider mutual diplomatic recognition. The other Concordat worlds would similarly expect recognition of their sovereignty. The practice of technological subjugation would end. "And if the hegemony refuses?" Krex asked, already knowing the answer. Dr. Chen's expression remained compassionate but firm. "Then the Concordat will be forced to reveal itself more dramatically." Today's demonstration was restrained and localized. It need not remain so. The implication was clear. The hegemony's technological advantage, the foundation of its expansionist empire, was an illusion. Multiple worlds had independently developed defensive capabilities that rendered traditional conquest impossible, all while maintaining the appearance of compliance or primitiveness. Commander Vex, watching from his stranded flagship, finally understood the magnitude of the strategic failure. "How many?" he asked hoarsely. "How many worlds have been deceiving us?" "Enough," General Wilson replied simply. "Enough to change everything." 24 hours after the failed invasion, Commander Vex stood on the observation deck of the hegemony diplomatic vessel, watching Earth through the viewport. The once mighty invasion fleet remained stranded near Neptune, intact but humbled, their faster-than-light capabilities neutralized by human technology. "It's beautiful," Vex admitted quietly to Krex, who had returned to the ship after the initial diplomatic exchange. "In all our conquests, I never actually looked at the worlds we subjugated with anything but strategic assessment." "Perhaps that was our first mistake," Krex replied. The Hegemony High Council had received their report with initial disbelief, then growing alarm as evidence of the Concordat's existence accumulated. Emergency sessions were underway across hegemony space as the implications became clear. Their empire of technological superiority was built on sand. On Earth, the public was finally being informed of the truth that governments had kept secret for decades. News broadcasts worldwide revealed the existence of the Masquerade Protocol, the true state of human technological advancement, and the reality of the alien invasion that had been thwarted in just 2 hours. Rather than panic, a strange sense of pride and unity spread across the planet. In the Sahara Conference facility, now expanded to accommodate delegations from world governments, Dr. Chen and General Wilson met with the President and other global leaders to discuss humanity's next steps. Representatives from the Concordat worlds will arrive within the month, Dr. Chen explained. "With the Masquerade no longer necessary, we can finally establish open communication and cooperation." The President nodded thoughtfully. "And the hegemony. Their empire is facing an existential crisis," General Wilson replied. 12 worlds within their territory have already activated their own defensive systems and declared independence. The balance of power is shifting hourly. A holographic projection displayed the current state of known galactic civilization, the hegemony territories in red, rapidly shrinking as world after world revealed their true technological capabilities and broke away. "We're witnessing the end of one galactic order and the birth of another," the President observed. "The question is, what kind of galactic community does humanity want to help build?" Dr. Chen activated another display showing the principles of the emerging Concordat: mutual respect for sovereignty, technological cooperation without domination, cultural exchange with preservation of diversity. "We designed our deception out of necessity," she said, "but the future doesn't need to be built on lies. The Concordat principles suggest a different path." In orbit above Earth, a quantum communication relay activated, connecting the planet with the other Concordat worlds for the first time without secrecy or limitation. Images of diverse alien species, some humanoid, others wildly different, appeared on screens across Earth as these civilizations openly introduced themselves to humanity. What united them wasn't physical similarity, but shared values that had led each to choose deception over conflict, preparation over confrontation. Commander Vex, observing these transmissions from his ship, finally understood. They outmaneuvered us not just technologically but philosophically, he told Krex. Each of these worlds recognized something about the nature of true advancement that the hegemony had forgotten. 3 days later, the Hegemony High Council formally acknowledged the sovereignty of Earth and the other Concordat worlds. The empire that had stood for millennia began its transformation into something new, a process that would take decades but had become inevitable the moment humanity had defeated their invasion in just 2 hours. 6 months after the failed invasion, the first official Concordat assembly convened in a massive space station constructed in Earth orbit. Representatives from 37 worlds, including former hegemony worlds, independent systems, and even a delegation from the reformed hegemony itself, gathered to establish new principles for galactic cooperation. Dr. Chen, now serving as Earth's ambassador to the Concordat, addressed the historic gathering. Our victory was not in defeating an invasion, but in proving that advancement need not come at the cost of others. The true measure of a civilization is not in its weapons or ships, but in its capacity to imagine and build a better future, not just for itself, but for all sentient life. Commander Vex, now part of the hegemony's reform movement, found himself nodding in agreement. The most powerful weapon humanity had deployed was not their advanced technology. It was their vision of a galaxy united by cooperation rather than conquest. The invasion that lasted just 2 hours had changed the course of galactic history forever.